Stop scrolling. I need you to read every single word of what I'm about to say. Because what I'm going to tell you today, most people will never hear it. Not because it's hidden, not because it's secret, but because most people aren't ready for it. You are. And deep down, somewhere behind the noise of your daily routine, behind the bills, behind the doubt, behind the voice that keeps whispering, "You're not good enough," you already know what I'm about to say is true. You were not built for average. You were not put on this earth to survive, to clock in, clock out, scroll through someone else's highlight reel at 2 a.m., wondering why your life feels like it's moving in slow motion. No, you were built for something that most people can't even imagine, and I'm going to prove it to you right now. But first, if you're watching this and you feel like this was made specifically for you, if something in your chest just shifted, write 99 in the comments right now, because I want to know who the real ones are. I want to know who actually showed up today ready to hear the truth. Write 99. Now let's get into it. Part 1. The lie you were told before you could even walk. Before you were old enough to form a full sentence, someone handed you a story. It wasn't written on paper. Nobody sat you down and said, "Here is the version of yourself we've decided you will be." It was more subtle than that, more dangerous. It came through a look, a tone of voice, a parent who worked themselves into the ground and called it love, a teacher who told you to sit down, be quiet, color inside the lines, a system that graded your worth on a scale from A to F and sent you home convinced that intelligence was something you either had or you didn't. You absorbed it all. Every correction, every "be realistic," every "that's not how it works in the real world." And slowly, carefully, without anyone meaning to destroy you, they handed you a ceiling. And you accepted it. Not because you were weak, but because you were young, because you trusted the people around you, because when you're a child, the adults in the room seem to know everything, and when they draw a border around your potential, you assume that border is real. Here's what nobody told you. The ceiling was never yours. It was theirs. Every limitation placed on you was a reflection of someone else's fears, their unfinished dreams, their surrendered ambitions projected onto the most impressionable version of you. The person who told you don't get your hopes up had gotten their hopes up once and paid for it. So they tried to protect you the only way they knew, by pre-breaking your wings so the fall wouldn't hurt as much. But here's the brutal truth. You fell anyway. You fell and you're still falling, not because you flew too high, but because you never truly launched. Because somewhere along the way, you traded your vision for their comfort. You shrank yourself down to a size that wouldn't frighten the people around you. And every morning you wake up feeling like something is missing. That emptiness you can't quite name. That's the sound of your unlived potential knocking on the door. That's the version of yourself you abandoned in the name of being reasonable. And it wants back in. Part 2. The moment everything changes. There's a moment, and I need you to think about whether you've had it yet, where everything cracks open. It doesn't always look dramatic. It rarely does. Sometimes it's 3 a.m. and you're lying in bed and you realize you spent the last 5 years building a life that doesn't feel like yours, that the job, the apartment, the routine, all of it was assembled from other people's blueprints, that you've been living a borrowed life. Sometimes it's watching someone else, someone no smarter than you, no more talented, no more deserving, rise to a level you always told yourself was for other people, and something inside you breaks. Not in grief, in recognition. That could have been me. That should have been me. That still can be me. Sometimes it's quieter than that. A song, a sentence in a book, a conversation with a stranger that somehow says exactly what your soul has been trying to say for years. But every single person who has ever changed their life, truly fundamentally changed the trajectory of who they are, went through this moment. The moment of recognition. The moment you stop performing the life you were handed and start asking the terrifying, necessary question. What do I actually want? Not what your parents want, not what looks good on paper, not what makes the people around you comfortable. What do you want? And here's why that question is dangerous, because once you answer it honestly, you can't unanswer it.
Once you see it clearly, that image of who you could be, the life you could build, the person waiting to emerge on the other side of your fear, you cannot unsee it. It will follow you into every decision you make, every morning you choose comfort over growth, every time you hit snooze on your alarm, and somehow feel like you're also hitting snooze on your destiny. That vision will not leave you alone, because it was never supposed to. Part 3. The price nobody wants to talk about. Now, I have to be honest with you, because too many people in this space will sell you on the vision without telling you about the wait. They'll show you the mountaintop and forget to mention the climb. So let me be the one who tells you the truth. Becoming who you're supposed to be is going to cost you something. It's going to cost you comfort. That familiar feeling of knowing exactly what comes next, gone. Because growth, real growth, lives at the edge of the unknown, and the unknown is uncomfortable by definition. It's going to cost you time. The hours you used to spend numbing yourself, the mindless scrolling, the passive consumption, the endless entertainment that kept you distracted from the silence where your real thoughts live. You're going to have to trade those in, not forever, but enough. It's going to cost you relationships, and this is the one nobody warns you about, because it sounds harsh, but I'd rather you hear it from me than discover it alone. When you start to grow, not everyone in your life will grow with you. Some people in your life, people you love, people who love you, have built their identity partly in relation to who you've been. And when you change, when you rise, when you start demanding more from yourself and your life, something shifts in that dynamic. Some will be inspired, some will be threatened, and you won't always be able to tell which is which until the moment of separation. You'll lose friends who couldn't keep pace with the person you were becoming. You'll drift from family members who preferred the version of you that didn't ask hard questions. You'll outgrow rooms you used to feel at home in, and for a while you'll feel homeless, caught between who you were and who you're becoming. This is called the gap, and almost everyone who quits in the gap, because the gap is where it's darkest, where the old life has lost its meaning, but the new one hasn't fully materialized, where doubt is loudest and evidence is thinnest. The gap is where most dreams die. Not because the dream wasn't real, not because the person wasn't capable, but because they didn't know that the gap was supposed to feel this hard. So let me give you what I needed when I was in the gap. The resistance you feel is not a sign to stop. It's proof you're moving in the right direction. Everything worth building was built against resistance. Every person worth becoming was forged in a season that felt unlivable. You are not falling apart. You are being remade.
Part 4. The Anatomy of the Chosen Ones. I want to talk about the people who make it. Not the lucky ones, not the privileged ones, not the people who had every advantage and still somehow ended up okay. I mean the ones who made it from nothing, the ones who started with the wrong zip code, the wrong family, the wrong circumstances, and decided that none of that was going to be the final word on their story. What is it about those people? What separates them? Because here's what I've noticed. Having studied hundreds of people who transformed their lives, having been through my own fire, having watched people rise from rock bottom and people plateau at the first taste of comfort, the difference is almost never talent. It's almost never resources. It's almost never timing. The one thing that separates the people who make it from the people who don't is this. The chosen ones chose themselves first. Before anyone else believed in them, they believed. Before there was evidence, they acted as if. Before the results showed up, they showed up. They woke up every single day and made the decision, again, to bet on themselves. Not because it was easy, not because they were fearless, not because they had some supernatural confidence that the rest of us lack, but because they understood on a bone-deep level that nobody was coming to save them, that the waiting was the worst strategy, that the universe does not reward preparation for action, it rewards action itself. And so they moved, imperfectly, messily, without all the information, without all the support, without permission from the people who hadn't believed in them yet. They moved anyway. And here is what movement does that stillness never can. Movement creates feedback, and feedback creates clarity, and clarity creates momentum, and momentum, once built, is one of the most powerful forces in a human life. You don't find clarity sitting still. You find it by moving through the fog until the picture emerges. The chosen ones understand this. They are comfortable operating in uncertainty because they know that the fog clears as you walk through it, not before. This is the defining quality, not genius, not privilege, the willingness to move without guarantees. Part 5. The Identity Shift. Here's what nobody tells you about achieving your goals. The achievement is not the hard part. The hard part is becoming the kind of person who can keep what they build. Because most people, when they finally break through, when the thing they've been working for finally arrives, quietly find a way to sabotage it, to give it back, to return to a level of success that feels familiar. Not because they don't want more, but because they haven't changed their identity to match their new reality. You see, your brain has a thermostat. It's called your self-concept, and whatever temperature that thermostat is set to, it will keep pulling you back to that level, no matter how high you temporarily climb. Win too much, and it finds ways to lose. Build too fast, and it finds reasons to slow down. Receive too much love, and it finds reasons to push people away. This is not weakness. This is not self-destruction in the way most people think of it. This is your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do, return you to the familiar. The work, then, is not just about building the goal. The work is about rebuilding the self. And this is the deepest, most demanding layer of personal transformation, the layer most self-help content skips entirely because it's not exciting. It doesn't make for a good montage. It looks like this. Catching yourself mid-thought as the old story starts to play. Who do you think you are? And pausing long enough to ask, whose voice is that? And do I still believe it? It looks like sitting with discomfort instead of running from it, learning to tolerate expanded versions of yourself, more success, more love, more visibility, without immediately contracting back to smallness. It looks like choosing differently in small moments, not the grand gestures, not the dramatic declarations, but the quiet, consistent, daily decision to act in alignment with the person you are becoming rather than the person you used to be. This is the real work, the identity work, and it is never finished, because the self is not a destination, it is a direction. You will spend your entire life becoming. And the people who make peace with that, who stop waiting to arrive and fall in love with the process of becoming, those people are unstoppable. Not because they've figured it all out, but because they've stopped needing to.
Part 6. A message to the version of you that's still hiding. I want to speak directly to something now. I want to speak to the version of you that is reading these words and feeling them, really feeling them, but already preparing its defense. Already building the argument for why this doesn't apply to you specifically. That's inspiring, but my situation is different. I would, but I have kids, a mortgage, no time, no money, no support. I tried before and it didn't work. I'm too old. I'm too young. I don't have the right connections. People like me don't get to. I hear you. I genuinely hear every single one of those voices, because they're not entirely wrong. Your circumstances are real. The obstacles are real. The history is real. But here's what else is real. Every single person who has ever overcome something impossible started from exactly where you are, believing the obstacle was larger than the opportunity. Every person who ever looked back at their transformation with pride and disbelief spent some time in the exact seat you're sitting in right now, reading words like these, feeling inspired and terrified in equal measure, wondering if they were the exception or the rule. You are not the exception. You are the pattern. The story of the human spirit overcoming its conditioning, its fear, its circumstances. This story has been told 10,000 times across 10,000 cultures, across 10,000 years. It is your birthright, not as a guarantee, but as an option. The door is open. It has always been open. The question is only whether you are willing to walk through it. And walking through it does not require courage in the way most people think. It doesn't require some massive, overwhelming bravery that descends on you like a gift from the sky. It requires a decision, one decision, followed by one action, followed by one more. That's it. That is the entire formula. Decide, act, repeat. Decide, act, repeat, until the life you want is the life you're living. Part 7. I want to leave you with something you can carry. Not a quote, not a slogan, a truth. You are the most powerful variable in your own equation. Not your past, not your circumstances, not the people who failed you or the systems that overlooked you or the years you spent going the wrong direction. You, right now, in this moment, with everything you've been through and everything you haven't figured out yet, you are enough to begin. Not enough to have it all figured out, nobody is. Not enough to skip the hard parts, nobody does. But enough to start. And starting, truly starting, with full commitment, with the willingness to be changed by the journey, is more powerful than any talent, any resource, any advantage you might think you're lacking. The world needs the version of you that stopped apologizing for existing, the version of you that stopped making yourself small so other people could feel big, the version of you that decided, finally, irreversibly decided, that the life you were handed was not the life you were sentenced to. I'm talking to the one who's been waiting for permission. You have it. I'm talking to the one who's been waiting for a sign. This is it. I'm talking to the one who's been waiting for the right time, the right circumstances, the right version of yourself to appear before you began. That version is built by beginning, not before it. So begin. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not when things settle down. Now. In whatever small, imperfect, uncertain way you can, begin. Because the world doesn't remember the ones who thought about changing their lives. It remembers the ones who actually did. And I believe, with everything in me, that you are one of those people. I believed it before you commented, before you subscribed, before you watched a single second of this. I believed it because you're here, and people who aren't ready don't find themselves sitting with words like these. You found this for a reason. Don't waste it. If this hit you somewhere deep, if something in your chest shifted while you read this, write 99 in the comments right now. Let me know you were here. Let me know you felt it. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who's been sleeping on themselves, someone who's been playing small, share this with them today, not tomorrow, today, because somebody shared something with you once that changed everything. Be that for someone else.